Jokic, this playoffs, most playoff triple doubles in playoff history. He had 10. He led the league playoffs in points, assists, and rebounds. No one's ever done that before. He was the first 30, 20, and 10 game in the NBA Finals. And as much as the offense was amazing, don't get me wrong, like passing out of stuff, finishing around the rim, honestly, with ease. His touch around the rim is one of the softest in the game. But outside of the offensive side of the ball, we all know he's an amazing offensive player. And so many people talk about his defense. And most people will agree and admit that his defense has gotten better over the last couple of years. I'll say last year and a half, not last couple of years. Last year and a half, his defense has gotten what most people call serviceable or league average. Is typically the terms you hear when you hear people talking about Jokic's defense. I'd venture to say, from watching him in these playoffs, because it's not your typical defense you expect from a quote-unquote rim protecting center, people say average or serviceable when talking about his defense. I'd venture to say Jokic plays good defense for two reasons. As a big man, he probably got the fastest hands in the league throughout the playoffs. I didn't care who it was, whether if it was LeBron and AD going to the basket, whether it was Jimmy or Bam, whether it was even going back to the first round. I want to say it feels like forever ago, but I want to say they played the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, it could even whether if it was Devin Booker and Kevin Durant in that second round. When people drive to the basket against Nikola Jokic, I have never seen a center strip the ball so frequently. I mean, at least once, twice a quarter. And it might not turn into a steal. It might just go off the offensive player's leg and they get it back and, they try to do something else, reset. But so many layup opportunities are blown simply because Jokic just strips the ball out of the player's hands. So it's not like a crazy box score stat because, like I said, most of them probably don't even turn into steals. But it's such a quick deterrent and it happens so fast that most times you don't see it happen live on the live broadcast. You see it either in the replay or he stripped it because you saw the ball go out of bounds and they just tell you Jokic stripped it. He has some of the fastest hands in the league defensively. In terms of stripping the ball on people driving to the basket, that specifically, that is Jokic's rim protection. Outside of the fact that he's almost 87 feet tall and he can just big body, put his hands up. Outside of that, his ability to strip the ball is his rim protection, right? The second piece to Jokic's why I say I'm going to give him saying he's a good defender moving forward. Because yes, can you work him into pick and roll to an extent? Sure. But are you going to post him up? Unless you like elite, no, you're not posting up Jokic because he's got the strength to body you. Or unless you're a guard that just get switched on him and try to blow by him. But honestly, unless you're like Bam Adebayo, you're driving by most centers in the league. Like let's call a spade here. But one thing Jokic does at an elite clip, better than most centers in the league, is rebound the basketball. And for me, that's what caps off a defensive possession. I don't care how good your defense is in terms of stops, blocks, deflections, stuff like that. If the offensive team can keep getting more shots up and get offensive rebound off of offensive rebound, they can stay in that game and hang around and win that game just off of energy and effort. Constantly and consistently, the Denver Nuggets, specifically Nikola Jokic, because of Nikola Jokic, were not allowing teams to get 2-3 looks at the basket. Because if you missed that first one, Jokic got the rebound and they was out. Jokic got the rebound and they was off to the races. So for that alone, we talk about Jokic's offense so much, and deservedly so. Jokic's offense is why we know him, why we love him. But I'm willing to venture to say this man is actually a good defender. I'm not going to pull up the stat and stuff because it was low-key, even kind of confusing to myself and wonky. And y'all know I'm not like necessarily a stats guy. But I just said, let me look and see, compared to some of the other bigs in the league, what was his defensive numbers looking like in terms of when the opponent scores or tries to score within 6 feet of the basket and he's the closest primary defender. They shoot 10% less than they do if he's not there. And that was on par with guys like Joel, that was on par with Rudy, that was on par with Anthony Davis. Some of those guys might have had a little bit better percentages, 1, 2, 3% here and there, but he was right in the mix with some of those guys. His name isn't brought up when we talk about good big men defenders. I'm not necessarily saying he's on par with the Bams, with the Jaren Jacksons, with the even the Anthony Davises. I don't think I'm going that far yet. But when it comes to how he plays defense and how he's been able to utilize his skills and maybe hide some of his shortcomings in terms of his speed and lateral quickness, he makes up for it in hand speed, strength, and just straight up just size and his rebounding ability. Jokic is a good defender, and I'm willing to live with that. I'm willing. If you disagree, it's cool, but I'm willing to live with that.